Ringo had taken his glasses off, very dark sunglasses. And they weren't there?
Is your jacket maybe at that MC where I was sitting? There was a jacket there.
You're never going to believe this.
No, that's all right.
Oh, no.
Hey,
You're so.
I've done this.
start
Where's my glasses?
rematerialize.
Where's my glasses? No, they're on.
They're on my head.
So anyway, thank you, dear. So anyway, Richard Starkey. And I'll just go ahead and read. I made notes here. The name Ringo Starr is interesting because it suggests a ring around a star.
It goes away.
It's a ring of light. Yeah, well, that's the next salient point. He said it could also mean that Richard Starkey's life is coming to a climax. We'll see. Well, what was interesting about that, at the same time he was having the dream, I was on the internet looking at a picture of Ringo Starr, who I never follow.
Right, right.
And Paul McCartney, getting out of a car and going to some event. And Ringo, of course, he had the dark sunglasses on. So this is what my friend Peter Wakefield says. Hi, David. Yes, last night I put the question of the solar eclipse to the diary. What effects will this bring to the U.S. and give me a sign? He's asking for his soul to feed him a sign. This works. This is a formula that works.
Yeah.
This is really heavy esoteric stuff. And give me a sign. And I was fed a lucigram of the Beatle Ringo Starr, who was a drummer. Drummers are ruled by Pluto. And usually Ringo Starr is pictured wearing sunglasses, which are a symbol of denial. You're denying the sunlight in, but you're denying other things as well. Not wanting to see the truth is one of the aspects of denial. Fakery and so on in this image of Ringo Starr. He was in full sunlight. This is the second. And had his face bathed in sunlight with a slight smile and not wearing his sunglasses. It says to me that the veils are lifting and that the shades are coming off. This suggests the national denial of America. These denials are beginning to lift and the light will begin to enter America's consciousness. Also, Ringo Starr as a drummer implies a deep embedding or rhythm, some very deep, something very significant in the life wave of America. So, we've got some pictures. I thought we could just kind of show you what we're talking about here. Yeah, Ringo is somewhere. There he is. Ringo Starr. And there's the dark sunglasses. And it's interesting how he equated the symbolism of the dream with denial. Sunglasses are denying the sunlight, and something in the collective consciousness of America, according to him, is denying the truth, that the truth is being denied by the masses. So anyway, always the significance in the horoscope, we talked a little bit about it last Friday, about how the effect that the solar eclipse has as it applies to you is where Aries is in your horoscope. That's where you'll be affected, whether it's your rising sign, whether it's in the 11th house, in the house of groups, whatever house it's in. That's what you need to be concerned with, the house and the degree to which it exists in that particular house. Because the greater the degree, the greater the effect will be felt in your life. So we had just today, I was running back and forth to the print shop. I made 3 trips down there.
Thank you.
Between about 11 o'clock and about 4 o'clock this afternoon to get these prints made. And we'll try to get through this chart with his interpretation. Is a little difficult, some of his writing for me to read. So he called me at 10 o'clock at night his time to go over the verbiage in this chart interpretation that he did. Again, these are intersecting signs in the 11th and the 5th house. Interceptions are always houses that are directly opposed to one another. You see it,
chart?
you see it here. This is the chart of America.
Oh,
It's America's horoscope.
thank you.
And we're trying to deduce how the solar eclipse will affect America. And one of the interesting things, we talked a little bit about it last week, if you remember, where we were talking about a lunar eclipse and how the energies of the lunar eclipse are felt sometimes instantaneously. We talked about the ship in Baltimore Harbor. I predicted that it was in the sign of Libra, and it was almost exactly in the sign of Libra, which is the bridge, that the ship hit the bridge. And we drew it out here in the graph somewhere. Maybe we'll show it later. There was the bridge incident in Baltimore, but 130 or so years ago, there was an incredible experience that took place in Scotland called the Tay Bridge incident. The Tay Bridge was a large trestle bridge, hundreds of feet high, spanning a gorge in Scotland. And on the night of a lunar eclipse, the train crossing the Tay Bridge collapsed, and everybody on board the passenger train was killed. The difference between the energies of the lunar eclipse and the energies of the solar eclipse are this. For the most part, the energies of the lunar eclipse are felt suddenly, within a short span of time. But with a solar eclipse, it can take up to 10 or 11 years for the energies to work themselves out. I told a story, if you remember, about an assignment that Baker had given me to call one of the Rockefellers that he knew about a certain thing. And I didn't see him for about a year afterwards, and he'd asked me if I'd done that. I said, yeah, I called him. And he said, well, it's good that you did that. He said, those energies are good for about 11 years. So 10 years, he said. So you had 10 years to make the call. Of course, I made it almost a week after I talked to him. I was back in the United States. So the energies are protracted in the solar eclipse. And part of the great mystery of an eclipse, whether it's a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse, is that as the eclipse is covering the sun or the moon, a pressure of that light is being built up. It's being built up. And then when it passes, that energy is released with greater velocity. and a greater and more significant impact. And certainly that will be very true of this solar eclipse. Now, the thing that, one of the things that I had talked to Peter about was, I just set this here.
Sure.
David, one question, anybody know how long this thing's supposed to last?
Yeah, it's about 4 hours in length. I think from each location, we'll be able to see it here from like 1:40 or 1:20 in the afternoon until about what, 5:30 on Monday. But of course, it's gradually changing, see, because it's moving. It's the movement of the planet and the movement of the moon and the movement of these great bodies. So that energy builds a pressure, and it's also a pulse. It's like a heartbeat, like your pulse, only this is at a solar level. It's cosmic pulsation, which is the beat of the drummer. See, Ringo the drummer creating a rhythm. And Baker always said to me, there are rhythms that take place. The thing that is interesting, little footnote, is that it begins down here near Eagles Pass, Texas, as it enters America, which is, of course, the main infiltration route for illegal immigrants coming into the country. And we're lucky here that it's so close to us in Michigan. We'll be able to see about 90% of the totality. As I said earlier, totality means a complete eclipse, and the path is about 70 miles wide. So if you're within this is not an accurate 70 miles, obviously, but I suppose you could cut that in half and you might have 70 miles, but it's okay that it's exaggerated because I can explain it accurately. Anyway, so anything beyond that 70 miles, you start to see a little bit less of the totality. There was an interesting event that took place in 1999 with an eclipse. It was the last full solar eclipse of the 20th century. We talked about it once before. I don't know if you remember it or not. I should have my globe here to show you, but I'll explain it. The eclipse in 1999 was on Blavatsky's birthday, which is, it began off the coast of America, about where this one ends. And it came across the southern tip of England. And the implication of the solar eclipse was that every country that trajectory, that path of totality passed over would experience a rebirth of esoteric teachings and wisdom. And it went across England, Cornwall, over to Europe, France, Belgium, down into the Balkans, Romania, Bulgaria, that part of the country, in through the Middle East, and then down through the tip of southern India. I know people who, through their efforts, are teaching esoteric astrology in Bulgaria. There's a tremendous interest in Bulgaria, Romania. I'm hoping to, at some point before I die, put on an esoteric conference in Istanbul, which would be significant. And So we're looking forward to that, but there'll be throughout Europe, there'll be a birthing of interest, of renewed interest in the esoteric wisdom teachings, and in particular in astrology and in esoteric healing. So I think what we want to do is I'm going to get Peter's explanation out here. See if I can read it. I'm going to have to slide over here. The total eclipse, the Earth from the Earth forms the handle of a bucket shape. So what he's saying is that like this is the lower portion of the bucket, and this is the upper handle region here.
Oh.
You see that in a lot of the pictures and sculptures of the Middle East, of the Assyrians and other ancient people, who they're carrying these purse-like devices in their hands, you know, buckets. Some of them, people call them buckets, some people call them purses. But they contain wisdom, they contain the esoteric knowledge. And that's what the real symbolism of those are. Saturn's natal position in the US chart. So here's Saturn, and here's Libra, which is the symbol of justice, of law, a renewed interest in laws. The sun and moon in Aries in the 11th house intercepted, opposing. So here they are. Sun and moon in Aries, and Earth and Saturn with opposing Libra, or Libra, as the Americans say. The permutations, a permutation is it has multiple meanings. And what happens is the astrologer, one of the things the astrology does is it feeds you higher manas, that's higher mental plane information. And you get to a point where a lot of times in the translation of a chart, of a horoscope, you can, you know the meaning without, it's like an intuitive knowledge of meaning. Yeah, it's going to break off there. I don't need it anymore. No. So the permutations that my friend Peter wrote out are Aries. He's got Aries, Sun in the 5th. See, the deep mystery of esoteric astrology is that those signs are like words, they create sentences. And it's the key is in the proper arrangement of the signs allow you access to the proper interpretation of the horoscope. Take your light within when it is denied without. What is in shadow can be revealed by the light within. He's saying, and I agree with him, I've sensed it for a very long time, that there will be an awakening that will be triggered by this solar eclipse, and that people who have been in denial, whatever that means, however you interpret that, of what the real truth of the situation is concerning America, they're going to wake up.
Yeah.
Now, it's been denied without, and what is in shadow will be revealed by the light within, by the higher partner, meaning people are going to have awarenesses where their souls, their higher self, is going to start to communicate to them in subtle ways, but it'll be recognizable and it'll be powerful when it happens. Let's see. I can't remember what
Restrictions.
is that what it is? Restrictions
on the
on the earth
balance.
are in balance, and national and international steps have to be taken regarding immigration and divisions in society.
Wow.
Well, no kidding. But, wow, so at least it'll bring some impetus for that, thank
Yeah,
God.
that's what it's going to do.
Hopefully it'll be.
That's what it's going to do. That's
I mean,
page
we don't want
one.
to have to wait until January.
Yeah, you won't have to wait until the 23rd century to have this be. And see, it's significant. The reason, one of the reasons it's significant is because this stuff's got to be cleared up, according to Douglas Baker, who 14 years ago told me that the issues that we're talking about here have to be resolved before the spiritual hierarchy in 2025 can externalize. That's what we're talking about. Okay, well, we'll continue. The earth as singleton, that's an English term. It means the earth as single or by itself in Libra with Saturn. The eclipse casts a shadow on the earth. Saturn in Libra is the current restrictions
On the civil liberty.
on the civil liberties regarding the interactions between Libra and Aries, and this concerns the following areas: the national sensibility over defense and immunity, and the balance of immigrants from outside. Saturn is the gatekeeper who restricts admittance.
Thank God. Huh?
Yeah.
What's gonna shift that? Well, we don't
So
know
when
when.
we'll talk
when it
about
goes
it.
into
We'll
effect.
We'll talk about it after. He's better. The opposition, this opposition eclipse between Sun, Moon, and Earth and Saturn reflects the American Civil Wars. Now you got to remember, in the horoscope of America, the ascendant is Gemini. Sorry for this, but it's Gemini. And what does Gemini do? Well, it splits and divides.
Yeah.
So the country is always split and divided, whether it's the Civil War or it's the Democrats and
Parties,
Republicans,
yeah.
whatever it is. The country is always split, and it needs to unify. The plan of the spiritual hierarchy is to have America be the leader for the New World Renaissance, which the masters and the other even higher beings are going to energize. So the original plan, you're getting some pretty heady stuff here in a second. The plan is that America would lead the world in this new world renaissance. And so part of the problem in getting that to materialize is that the dweller on the threshold, which is the sum total of all of the evils within the personality of the nations of Europe, was destroyed in World War II. That was the deep esoteric significance of World War II. We're going to have to show my PowerPoint lecture on Adolf Hitler and the esoteric significance of World War II would be helpful in understanding this. So, the dweller on the threshold of America, the sum total of our national evil and the weak side of our personality, was never destroyed. In fact, when you think about it, this nation in World War II was almost unscathed. I think there was one or two bombs that hit the West Coast that were like sticks of dynamite attached to balloons or something, had some kind of a detonator device. Yeah, we lost a couple 100,000 men in Americans in World War II, great tragedy, but we lost 600,000 in the Civil War. See? So we got to kind of balance these things. And Libra helps us balance. The symbol of Libra Libra is the symbol of the scales of justice and balance, whose natural home is the seventh house. We're looking at it in the fifth house. So let's get back to this. The sun and moon, Earth and Saturn reflect the American Civil War and I forget what he's got there. The
Emotional? No, what's that?
and the EMOF
Manifestation.
webs that still exist. The emotional, I think it's supposed to
Yeah,
be. The
emotional.
emotional webs that still exist. What has to happen is the divine
For those.
For more.
Oh, for
unity
more.
Drive, is it
And
drive?
love, for more unity and love.
for unity,
Drive.
the drive
Drive,
for
right.
more unity and love. David has talked about the American dweller. Shadows having yet to fully dissipate. The dweller is not fully dissipated.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
But here's the beauty of it. See, it's all coming to the surface,
Yeah.
and the dweller will be destroyed. We're witnessing this great conflict. I always tell people this is the World War III that Alice Bailey talked about.
Absolutely it is.
She said it would be fought in the airwaves, on television and radio. That was one of the things that they were doing in Atlantis
Yeah.
225,000 years ago when Mahatma Moria reincarnated to fight the dark forces on the planet. So this division between North and South, Republican and Democrat, needs to heal. And so
This.
this eclipse
For American.
for Americans means having to face the truth.
Wow. What does that mean?
Let's throw down.
The sun's countenance, the face of the sun, is covered and needs to be unveiled. So
True.
truth is revealed. Thank you. Eclipses show us how powerful denial and ignorance is, and that we need to deal with our shadows, our shadow self. And that's exactly right. That's what people who are in denial need to deal with it. Not at an emotional level, but at a mental level.
And look where Aries is in our charts to see.
Yeah. See how you might
And
be,
what's opposite.
yeah, and what how you might be affected by it. So that's some pretty powerful stuff.
Yes.
We got about 20 minutes. Is there anybody on the Zoom tonight?
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions you'd like to ask? I'll try to answer them. before my throat gives out. My voice gives out. It's a lot of information in an appallingly brief period of time, as I would say.
No questions. Is there a hand stand up there?
Is what?
Is there a hand raised?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Pay attention there. Who is
Yes,
it?
please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes, it's Tracy. Hi, everybody.
Oh, hi, Tracy.
Sorry, I couldn't make it like in person tonight. This is a very interesting talk, David, so thank you very much. So summing things up from what you've said, I don't know if I understood this clearly, but America still has a chance of possibly fulfilling the plan as it was hoped by the masters that we would
Yeah.
bring in esoterics. But it seems, but we have to clear the dweller, correct? That's what you were saying, and the eclipse is going to help us
We have to face the
Everything.
light of truth.
bring everything to the surface.
Right. We have to face the light of truth. We can't keep our sunglasses on like Ringo Starr and block out the light of truth.
Okay, I just wanted to, I was thinking that's what you were saying and what you meant by it. So yeah, very auspicious time. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for the question.
Yeah.
Anybody else out there? Julie,
Yes,
you have to-
Audrey, please unmute yourself.
Hi there. Okay, so can you hear me?
Yeah, you're fine.
Oh, okay. So if people are going to be awakened during the eclipse, are there other people going to prevent this from happening? And if yes, how would they do that?
That's a good question. It won't happen instantaneously when the eclipse is at totality, wherever it's passing over over America. These energies last up to 10 years, some maybe 11 years.
Okay.
But there'll be a series of events. I don't want to talk about them on the Zoom because it's not the right vehicle for me to use to do it for a host of reasons. But eventually there'll be a mass awakening. That's what is being implied by the symbolism of Peter Anthony Wakefield's lucigrams or dream visions, and in the horoscope of America, it shows an awakening and awareness to the appreciation of truth that people will come because the veils are thinning, not because I say so. People across the planet, in England, it's real popular and well known. People, they have meetings where they talk about how the veils are thinning and people are having visions and dreams and awarenesses that they've never had before. And what will happen is that people are going to wake up to what the truth of the matter and the situation really is, and that will change America for all time. And it has to happen if the plans of the spiritual hierarchy of the planet are to be realized, and I think that they are. If they're not, and America doesn't come to its senses, then this great world renaissance, which will be energized by the third ray, the fourth ray, and the seventh ray, won't be realized in America, but will be realized as it was 500 years ago in Renaissance Europe. And that's my answer.
Okay, so I have another one.
Mhm.
Is that why there is like mass confusion? They're trying to confuse us, right?
Mhm.
There's no gender.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's all this distractions, right? Like calling
Yeah.
it upset. Okay.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. 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 I said years ago that it was happening. Michael Jackson, in one of his songs, he was talking about bad, and bad meant good.
Yeah.
If it was really bad, it was really good. And that kind of stuff. I'm not implying Michael Jackson in any way was involved with any kind of deceit at a national level. I'm just saying that the terminologies begin to take on opposite meanings. And when I was at General Motors, one of my best friends was the vice president of the design center. And I told him, he asked me one time about it. He was new there. He had worked most of his career in Europe. And he said, well, what do you think is happening here? And I said, well, what's really happening is there are skilled people who understand the psychology of black magic, and they can take a lie and turn it into a truth, and they can take the truth and turn it into a lie. And that's exactly what's happening. That's what every black magician does. They distort the truth. We talked about in one of our lectures, I think it was 3 weeks ago. Yeah, we talked about black magic in Atlantis and how they were deceiving the masses, and that it became so corrupt and so polluted that anyone who told the truth would be put to death. We're not far from that right now. So it's worth thinking about. Oh, does that answer your question? Is anybody else?
Can you talk about the externalization of the ascended masters?
Yeah.
They'll come and help the plan, and will they stay?
Yeah, they'll stay for a while. Probably many, they'll alternate. I don't know if they'll all be here at once. I believe that in my experiences that they're here now. They're going to congregate in May of 2025 in Shambhala. And they're going to take a look at what state the world is in. And they're going to try to fix some of the things that they can fix. It's largely up to mankind to fix them. They will support us. Every step we make toward them, they take 2 steps towards us. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So when I was first told about the black magicians and the psychology of evil, planetary evil, was 14 years ago. I mean, I knew about it, but I didn't understand what all was involved in it at the time. But Baker one night, there was just the 2 of us there at his home, north of London. And he told me, gave me the insights into planetary evil and how it was manifesting itself. And I thought to myself, I didn't say anything to DB about it, but I thought to myself, man, there's just not enough time to fix that.
Yeah.
14 years
Yeah.
it's been, and now it's happening. What has happened over 14 years is that the trajectory, this involutionary force, that's what it is. Black magicians are a product of an involutionary force and is beginning now to move on the upward arc, on the evolution, the true evolutionary or spiritual arc, which includes wild things like the beginning of the dematerialization of the physical world, which scares the hell out of some people, but it shouldn't. Anyway, they're going to have the meeting in 2025, and we'll know, I think we'll know the direction that it's going to take.
If they have it.
Yeah, I think they will. They'll have the meeting. It just may not be America, as I said, may not be the center of force. See, there are divisory forces that are trying to keep that from happening.
Yeah.
A planetary evil is a real thing. Every time we say the great invocation, one of the lines is, may it seal the door where evil is. So it has to be sealed. And there are ways that that can happen. And one of them will be through an enlightened awareness of the masses of people. And that's what I'm hoping for. I'm really and truly hopeful that that's what will
Well,
happen.
that's the populism that's happening around the world.
Yeah, it's all around the world. You see it.
It's the
People,
people.
have had
The
enough.
people.
You see crowds of
Yeah,
millions of people
Parties of the
in
people.
Europe, but they don't do it here. Very little of it here. And we'll see if it starts. It should. Yeah, Don, did you have something?
Yeah, I
you end
did.
up behind bars here.
I hope I don't end up there. But you mentioned about the dweller on the threshold in America,
Mhm.
and you've told us before how World War II had destroyed the dweller on the threshold in Europe.
Right.
So is how else do you get rid of the dweller on the threshold in America other than a civil war or World War III? I don't think those
This
are
may
happening.
be the opportunity for that to happen.
So it's our individual.
The flooding of light, which my friend Peter Wakefield, who's a genius astrologer, probably one of the best on the planet. It's what he says. I agree with it. I've sensed it naturally.
He says that it's now.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, that these will be the energies, the path of totality, that this immense area, the heartland, is going to experience it. Now, there's a couple things I need to add to this. We only got about 10 minutes. I said, God is my witness, several weeks ago, with the impending solar eclipse. And that there was an eclipse that took place back in, was it 2007?
17.
Was it 17? That's right. 2017. It went in this direction. The path of totality went this way. Where they meet in Missouri along the Mississippi River, in the center of the path of totality, is the New Madrid Fault. And I thought to myself, I started to get concerned about earthquakes and seismic activity. It would be rare, but it could happen. And that it passes one of the greatest earthquakes in American history that we know of, is the New Madrid Fault. And they said that when that earthquake took hold, the water of the Mississippi River flowed backwards. And the effect of that earthquake was felt for hundreds of miles around. Now, as fate would have it, there have been all over the planet, but in particular in America, seismic activity. And a big earthquake 2 days ago in Taiwan. They had one out in California. And we just had
We just
one
had one in New Jersey.
New York,
And New York.
which is unheard of.
Yeah.
Is totally unheard of. There was a minor earthquake that was barely felt in 1950 in New York City, New Jersey area. A large, major earthquake has not happened in that region of the country in 3,400 years. And it may be that it's time for something to happen. Let's hope, don't energize it by thinking of that. But it could be a reality. My concern was with the New Madrid fault, just because of the crisscrossing of the, in the 7-year time period. You know, if you remember what I said earlier about the eclipse, the energies, the numinostic energies can be felt for 10 or 11 years from a solar eclipse. So,
So there's still a trail of the last eclipse.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, passing through here, those energies. And comes the new one
Wow.
through Texas, passing right over the New Madrid fault. I'm hoping that nothing happens, but if something did happen, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't want it to happen, believe me.
Yeah.
But anyway, those are things that we need to think about in esoteric terms,
Mhm.
and just
So,
be
David, after question is
close.
that dweller on the threshold in
Mhm.
America
Mhm.
is
in the
going to
process
be
of being destroyed.
by the eclipse and
The
people's,
eclipse will energize
awareness and raising their
Yeah.
awareness.
The eclipse, Don, is going to force us, many of us, to take the dark glasses off that are hiding the light of truth.
Okay.
That's the symbolism.
Okay.
It's going to happen. You see, I wondered when Baker was telling me things that he told me that I can't talk about.
Yeah.
He said that it had to be cleaned up, was the term I believe he used. It had to be put to an end. And when it's put to an end, then the new Renaissance, the world Renaissance of 2025 can become a reality.
I like it.
Yeah, so do I. So as he always used to say to me and to others in his lectures, when he would talk about kind of scary things, he would say, "Nihil desperandum," meaning do not despair. Do not despair. Whatever you do, nil desperandum. Don't despair. So,
Is that white magic?
yeah,
Nice.
yeah, be positive. Work towards the good of mankind. See, it was the evil of Atlantis. I told a story last week about one of the things that there was a witch, a powerful witch in Atlantis, part of the black magicians. And interestingly, her name was Jezebel,
Oh.
a biblical name. And Jezebel survived for many, many years through the transference of her brain and other mechanisms into the bodies of younger people. And so she lived for hundreds of years through this. It was really a science of black magic, a black magic science. And she wasn't the only one that was doing it. There were other people too. But it was the dark forces that were involved in it. And we see similar things, or we're told, that are happening with adrenochrome, and you know the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a reappearance. It's atavism, where the past repeats itself.
Mhm.
In atavistic events, the ancient past surfaces in a new and different time period. And that's what's a lot of the black magicians, the black magic, that's what they're doing. They're just reliving the Atlantean horror story.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's what's going on in the world. What time is it? 5 minutes.
5 moments. Yeah.
Anybody on Zoom? Do you have a question?
It just seems so powerful.
What?
They're just so powerful.
Yeah, but their energy is really only astral. They're powerful
Yeah.
on the astral plane.
Yeah,
And when you're functioning above and beyond the astral plane,
you just see
Then-
right through it.
yeah, it's almost like it doesn't exist at all. It doesn't mean that you're not attacked. They attack powerful people. The baker was attacked horribly and has scars on his bodies from astral attack. That they could
I bet.
actually have physical
Impact.
impact from the astral plane
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
people they fear. They always said that Rudolf Steiner was the guy that Adolf Hitler feared the most. And he was constantly trying to kill Steiner. And Rick Steiner was psychic and knew, and he was always able to get away. Okay, Galen has an announcement here he'd like to make. He's got some, I'll let you tell him.
Do you want the video on?
I got some sunglasses that you
Yeah.
can put on
For the
during the
story.
eclipse. Then after the eclipse, you can take them off like Ringo Starr. Who needs some glasses? Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Protect your eyes.
Yeah, project your eyes. You can't, don't dare look
Yeah,
at
I can
the
have one too.
eclipse.
Here,
Yeah.
thank you.
Good.
Put some over your eyes. Good girl.
You got one.
So be sure to wear
These are
those.
Yeah, you can go blind if you know.
Oh, you should.
I got.
You're all set.
Oh,
wow.
listen,
3D.
right
Okay,
here.
I got two left over.
Okay,
Who would like to give one to a friend? Raise your hand. Okay.
I don't have.
Anyone else?
Don't want
For David.
I got-
David. Okay, you have some?
Got three.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Galen. Okay, well, that'll be it then for this evening, if there are no questions from the Zoom audience.
Thank
And,
you, thank
we'll-
you, David. Very, very interesting night.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, David.
We'll meet again in 2 weeks. I think our lecture is going to be the consciousness of the moon. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Now, I'm gonna talk about that.